it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on...
Too late. That was Karoline Leavitt's cold, razor-sharp message delivered straight into the camera. No stutters, no second thoughts. She wasn't here for apologies, and she definitely wasn't here to negotiate. After slapping The View with an $800 million defamation lawsuit, Karoline didn't blink. And while the hosts may have hoped the storm would pass, they were now starting to understand. This storm wasn't fading. It was only beginning.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt...
Now Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin are practically stammering on air, smiles plastered over rattled nerves. Just weeks ago, they laughed off Karoline's lawsuit like a joke. Nothing more than noise from a conservative echo chamber. But now on live TV, their tones changed. They aren't apologizing exactly, but the desperation is clear. They're reaching, hoping to soften the blow without actually saying the words. Karoline doesn't need to respond. Their nervous eyes are saying everything.
I have to stop you with the camera, because I can see you. So do me a favor, don't pull it out again. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
It all started like any other show. The lights were on, the makeup flawless, and the hosts ready to rip into whatever topic came next. Then the headline hit: Karoline Leavitt files an $800 million lawsuit. Boom. But instead of pausing, instead of thinking twice, Joy cracked a joke, brushing it off as a PR stunt. Whoopi rolled her eyes. Sunny smirked and assured the audience it had no legs. The audience laughed on cue. But behind the scenes, the cracks had already begun to show.
Democrats in the media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. Watch this.
They thought it was just another name to mock and forget. But Karoline had receipts, real ones. While they were dismissing her, her legal team was moving in silence, digging deep. Not just into the footage, but into internal emails, old production notes, even private Slack chats. Karoline wasn't after attention. She wasn't chasing cameras. She was building a case with methodical precision. And when they realized how far back she was reaching, the laughter stopped.
Conflating two ideas, this word wokeness didn't look like she really understood what it meant, or certainly the way Karoline Leavitt meant it when she made that statement, and she was conflating it with civil rights and how, women didn't have the right to vote or own property and all of that. That has nothing to do with wokeness, which is, of course, about putting people in there because of their immutable characteristics rather than the merit that they bring to the table.
And then the leaks hit. Internal Slack messages, producer notebooks, a red ink note that read, "Break her, let her dig her own grave. Just ask about Trump." That wasn't part of the broadcast. That was the prep. This wasn't heat of the moment TV. It was premeditated. The kind of manipulation that didn't happen by accident. Now, those jokes they cracked on air were being dissected in silence, in courtrooms, boardrooms, and media war rooms nationwide.
Attacking a woman for her looks or age isn't very progressive. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, particularly that last clip that we played, it was so condescending. The way that she was scolding her as if she was a schoolgirl, suggesting she needed to do her homework. I find it so hypocritical when these so-called, caring, progressive voices just turn so nasty like that.
Yes, and as you mentioned, with conservative women, there's a long list of that, both of Trump's previous press secretaries, females, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany, other figures like his campaign manager the first time, Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Palin very famously had to bear the brunt of a lot of this. So people are used to that. I think in their bubble of the audience that The View speaks to, that's probably kind of what the group think is. So one defense, I guess, is that she was speaking to her audience, but you take it outside of that bubble the way you are right now, and we all can see.
Karoline stayed quiet. No interviews, no rage tweets, not even a cryptic story, just silence. Because when you're holding truth like a loaded weapon, there's no need to scream. Behind closed doors, ABC was already spiraling. Legal was combing through years of footage. Executives were dodging questions. PR teams were pulling 14-hour shifts trying to spin the narrative. But the deeper they looked, the worse it got. This wasn't just defamation. This was sabotage, coordinated and chronicled.
For me, and sort of lived lives of dreams deferred and poured everything in me, and just my life, how I transitioned from college. I went to college when I was 16, high school when I was 12, the struggle of that, and my career as a federal prosecutor, and then how I found
Whoopi didn't walk into the emergency meeting. She stormed in, furious. "We're seriously thinking of settling with her," she barked, towel still on her shoulder from makeup. Executives stammered about liability, about damage control. Joy exploded next, fists clenched. "We built this damn show! Now we fold over one lawsuit?" Silence filled the room. All eyes turned to Sunny, the legal expert who once said it would never see a courtroom. She didn't even look up, just slid the printed complaint across the table and whispered, "She has enough to go to court." That was the moment it hit them. This wasn't going away.
Do you want to take this?
No, you cannot be attractive and smart. I will try to give Joy the benefit, and thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Mm-hmm. Because Karoline Leavitt she went to St. Anselm College. She worked for WMUR
ran for Congress?
In New Hampshire. She ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign. She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
While heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives and this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
The very next morning, something felt off. The set looked the same, but the energy was different. No quips, no banter, just tension. Whoopi sat stone-faced, looked straight at the camera and said, "Things may have gotten out of hand. Maybe we need to take a step back." Joy followed, her voice cracking as she mumbled, "I don't know why it had to go this far." And Sunny? She looked straight into the lens, calm but shaken. "Karoline, if you're watching, maybe there's a better way to solve this." No sass, no spin, just 3 women, finally realizing they weren't in control anymore.
They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
But Karoline didn't flinch. No tweets, no press run, not even a smug comment. Her team released one cold line. "We are moving forward as planned." That silence hit harder than any broadcast. Viewers could smell it. This wasn't reflection, it was fear. Within minutes, the internet caught fire. Side-by-side clips showed the hosts laughing one week, begging the next. One tweet said it best: "If you weren't guilty, you wouldn't be begging." Hashtags exploded. Receipts don't lie. Memes, brutal. One had Whoopi photoshopped on a sinking ship. "Captain goes down with the view."
Listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Right.
That's what you hear.
Yeah.
When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to you. And that's what she was doing. And she was doing it, and it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now.
Yeah.
And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the
Right-wing media went full throttle. Fox News, The Daily Wire. Every conservative outlet lined up, not just reporting the unraveling, but celebrating it. Whole panels dissected the fallout, calling it a reckoning. Even neutral and left-leaning voices started asking the same question. Was this really just about one interview gone wrong? Or had The View become too comfortable slandering anyone they didn't like? The politics faded. The principle took center stage. People weren't talking left versus right anymore. They were talking about accountability. And that made Karoline's silence even louder.
Like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was...
And through it all, Karoline never blinked. No slick one-liners, no told you so. While The View scrambled to rebuild their image, she stayed in the shadows. Her team dug deeper, reviewing footage, gathering witness statements, pulling email chains from dusty archives. Every laugh, every joke, every backroom note, it was all becoming evidence. The case wasn't just airtight, it was scorched earth. This wasn't about winning headlines, it was about sending a message. You don't get to destroy someone's name and walk away.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help because voters are going to re-elect President Trump back to the White House very soon because voters see these trials that are being brought forward against President Trump for what they are. They are sham show trials. They are election interference in an attempt to imprison President Trump. And the irony in all of this is that Joe Biden and the Democrats and these ladies on The View constantly say President Trump is the alleged threat to democracy, when in fact they themselves are wishfully thinking that President Trump will be imprisoned when he has not been convicted of any crimes. That is the real threat to democracy. Voters see that, and that's why President Trump continues his dominance in the polls, not just with Republicans and independents, but he's also picking up historic gains with Democrat constituencies such as African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and union workers.
By now, the narrative had flipped completely. The same women who mocked Karoline on live TV were now frozen in fear, watching their empire crack under the weight of their own words. Their half-apologies weren't landing. The audience wasn't buying the tone shift. The internet wasn't forgiving. And Karoline, she didn't need to say a thing. Her silence was the statement. Her evidence was the response. And as the media machine scrambled to catch up, the message was already clear. This wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a warning. And that's where we'll leave it, for now. If you want more breakdowns like this, the truth behind the headlines, and the stories they don't want you to hear, don't forget to hit like, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this storm, it's far from over.